This is an exciting Sunday. I have with me a very good friend whom I would like to call a little sister because she literally likes to annoy the hell out of me. But, that's life. I have with me today Lunar Lilith 28 from the F2K community. And by from the F2K community, I mean I literally pushed her into joining as soon as she hit affiliate. So, Lilith, what is going on? Happy Sunday. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. We're just unpacking, so things are a little bit hectic right now. Dog's whining in the background, so my apologies.
That's all good. It's a cute puppy.
Sometimes.
Not all the time. Oh, come on,
Only when she's, she is pretty cute and she knows it. That's the problem.
She takes advantage of it is what you mean.
Yes.
That's always good. So, Lil, why don't you give a little introduction to yourself so the friends at home can find out who exactly you are?
All right. So like Astrals just said, my name is Lunar Lilith _28 on Twitch. I just started recently, the last several months, like cosplaying, and then a few months ago on July 3rd, I started streaming, and I've made some pretty cool friends, like Astrals. Well, I was friends with you before, but still. And like he said, he's kind of my big brother to the point where he like pushes me off the water. That's like, or into the water. That's kind of our gift. But I'm very thankful for Astrals because he has helped me through a lot, and also just with getting started with streaming and stuff like that. So yeah, I basically just talked about our friendship, but I'm not great at intros, but yeah.
I mean, it works. Hey, any intro is a good intro as long as you can introduce yourself. It doesn't matter the tangent you go on. It's all about the perspective, I should say, not per. It's all about the perspective that you give with the intro and what you can introduce for yourself. Anyways, so we have a very exciting topic today. We are going to be discussing motivation and indecisiveness, which is probably one of the more interesting topics I would say that we're going to have discussed so far. Not to say what we've discussed so far isn't interesting, but this is a big one because indecisiveness is literally the bane of a lot of our existences, especially with respect to motivation, because you'll be like, I feel like doing something, but I don't know what. Like, Lil, I think you can kind of talk to indecisiveness a little bit, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I am constantly, and I like to blame it on being a Libra, but it's just me as a person. Like, I can't make a decision for the life of me.
I mean, that actually explains like so much. See, I'm a Leo, so like.
Yeah. Oh shit.
Like
that makes sense.
Leo is just the way to be. IMO, but I'm conceited. That's totally how Leos are. No, I get you though. It's true. Honestly, like. As a side point about zodiacs, I know some people don't really like believe them, but there is some merit to how a zodiac may influence a person's personality. I mean, aside from the fact of what you may read about it, maybe not so much on the horoscope side, your horoscope may not always be true, but personality traits definitely do have a lot of things to do, especially when a person's sign is, influence of weather, influence of the stars. I mean, look at what they say about the moon, right? Whenever there's a full moon, strange things happen.
Yeah, definitely. And honestly, one of the ways, like, I don't know, I love astrology and I'm a witch, so like, I don't use it a lot in my practice, but it does help me, like, in terms of moon cycles and things like that. Like, I use it a lot to determine, like, when to charge my crystals and, how it's going to be affecting my emotions for the next month or so, like, things like that. So I think there is some truth behind it, and I don't think like it's one of those things that you can't exactly easily prove with science. So I don't know, that's just how I view it.
No, I'd absolutely agree. It's like a factor of belief, right? I mean, Let's look at the aspect of indecisiveness for a minute to relate with that. Like, indecisiveness is simply but a feeling of confusion of what you're trying to figure out to do. I mean, science and biology may be behind the chemicals that sort of affect your brain, but ultimately, the decisions that you're going to try and make aren't influenced by science. They're an influence based on what you're trying to go for. And it's the same with what you want to believe in. Indecisiveness will change from person to person based on what they want to do. Same with the aspect of believing in like crystal, healing, astrology, and zodiac, right? That all kind of links in. It's what you have a perceptive to believe and follow through with, especially with what you're trying to make a decision on. So is indecisiveness actually a negative thing? Right? That's kind of the question we have to pose to ourselves, right? When I think of indecisiveness, and I think Lil will kind of agree with me on this, you're trying to choose between two different things, maybe more, maybe three or four, depending on what's going on in your life. And for the life of you, you're just not either sure what to approach first, tackle first, or even decide on what to go with at the start. But is it really that bad though? Like honestly, I view indecisiveness as a positive. Looking at it in this light, indecisiveness between multiple subjects that you're worried or trying to pick between means you have an interest or passion, or those are ultimately things that are important to you.
Yeah, I agree. Like sometimes, like my indecisiveness on what I want to do with my life is kind of like something I need to figure out, which I recognize that. What I was saying is like, I know Josh gets frustrated with it sometimes because like he'll ask like, where do you want to eat? I'm like, I literally don't give a crap. Like, and then he'll offer a bunch of places. I'm like, no, that doesn't sound good because none of it sounds good because I'm so freaking indecisive. Or, you know, bigger things too, when we were trying to find an apartment, I was like, I like this about it, but I don't like this. And then it kind of balanced each other out to the point where like, I kind of shut down and was like, I just don't care anymore. Enough. Sorry. I was like, I just don't care anymore. Like, but then we found this place, obviously. But I also think it can be good because then you're actually taking the time to sit there and look at, you know, what will be good for you and your, you know, situation and things like that. And I think that's when it comes into when it is helping you rather than hindering you, because it's forcing you to do that research and like look into yourself and find out what is going to make you happy. Absolutely. That's how I see it.
I would absolutely agree with that sentiment. I mean, I will say there are definitely times when indecisiveness is certainly a negative, but it doesn't mean it may be a negative aspect, but it doesn't mean you can't turn it into a positive for something to overcome. Like I've mentioned before, the soul of the world, your personal legend. Life is going to give you a challenge, and those challenges are there for you to recognize your limitations if you can overcome it or not. And indecisiveness is a great example of those challenges. Turning a challenge from a negative to a positive is a great aspect and personal thing to overcome. I mean, we'll jump back to your apartment example for a second, right? So you guys had a chance to kind of go through and try to find like the dream place, for a better term, right? Obviously, not every place is going to be a dream place, but you found a place where you're happy, fantastic view. You guys have a good open space for the pups, but it takes time to get there. That wasn't like your first find. Like you had to work through it, decide through a few others, and then eventually it kind of led you there, right? It's like the path less traveled.
Yeah, exactly. And we really lucked out with this place actually because like we were both being very indecisive and we were just kind of being like, screw it, we'll get to it when we get to it. But you know, the deadline was coming up real fast. And so his stepmom actually found this place before it was even listed because she has a friend who lives here or something or works for here or the management company. And she was like, well, what about this? And we came and looked at it. And that was like the one time we had a decision. We were like, yes, it has like everything that we want. And so we ended up finding this place, which was also kind of like a good factor of the indecisiveness because we knew what we were looking for. We knew what we wanted. And because we waited instead of like jumping in head first to something we were not going to be happy with, we found something we liked.
And I think that's a great example of turning an indecisive negative into a positive because like you guys had the perfect idea, more or less, to say. Like, I'll say perfect because you knew what you wanted. There are things to hit. There are checklists to get off the box. And ultimately, by waiting, you got to that spot. Pug, thank you so much for that gifted sub to Ghosty, my dude. Ghosty, welcome to the Believer's Friend, the Ember Dragon Legion. Enjoy your believing, Desu, and another emote that I always forget to mention. Pug, thank you so much for that, my dude. But like let's kind of talk about a negative indecisiveness. So factoring in, let's say, on the example of a lot of what people will face is the indecisiveness of what like program in school to go to or college university to attend, right? That is a big indecisiveness issue that a lot of people face at any age, no matter what. I know, like for me, it maybe not have been such a big issue because I was in a weird state where like my mom went back to university and I went to, so this is a little feedback on the astral history back in my days. So I was in high school. My mom went back to school for nursing. So older into the years, mature student. I'm like 16. She's in her third year university at this point. 4 hour away is where the university's at. So like she mostly did online learning, save for when she had to go to her campus. When she had to do the drive to campus for an exam or something, she'd be like, "Do you want to come along to keep me company for another day?" And I'm like thinking to myself, 16-year-old me, day at a school? I can play video games in the car? Hell yeah, let's go! So I'm like playing on my Game Boy, sitting on the sitting in the cars, like in the front seat of the car. We get to the university campus. It was University of Ontario. It was founded in 2002. It is literally like brand new university institution still. And like I saw the campus start out when it was just like 2 buildings. Now it's like 6. So like it's actually like a real school now. But those 2 years that I got to travel with her to there, and just see the campus kind of grow, I saw an environment that like I loved. Um, but it didn't still mean like I had decisions to make. I had to either take on like applications to like Western University or like Carleton University here in Ontario. Like Carleton University, I was offered an entrance scholarship and admission and board into the residency, which is something I hadn't even applied for. And at UIT, I was just offered only like an entrance scholarship, but like ultimately I decided on UIT. But the indecisiveness kind of came down. I was like, do I try to go for like the almost all-inclusive kind of way, or do I stick to the university that I kind of went to? And I mean, it ended up being an easier decision because, like you guys with your apartment, I knew what I wanted to kind of go for, and it was I love that small campus feeling. I knew the program I wanted in, but you kind of have to feel it out, right? Without exploring those opportunities, you won't be able to solve the indecisiveness that you get.
It's like a negative, I would say, with my indecisiveness is what I want to do with my life is really not feasible because I would like to get like a van or a bus or something and just like live my best hippie life and like renovate it and then just like travel across the country or just travel in general. But instead I'm going into business, and which is fine, and I'm good at it, so it works, but it's not like I recognize it's not what I want to be doing with my life, but I've already changed my major 4 times because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And it's just like that's not a feasible thing, at least currently right now. So I'm going into business for like job security and whatnot, but my heart's not happy. You know what I mean? So there's that too. Like I can see the pros of going into business and the potential to like make enough money to live comfortably, which I didn't really have as a kid, so, you know, like I want to be able to buy, it sounds like really stupid, but I want to be able to buy my mom a house someday. 'Cause she's been living in a trailer for years and I want her to have that experience of living in a house. So that's part of my motivation for going into business. It's just like, I don't know, it feels like something other people expect of me and like something I'm just doing to get money to be comfortable, but I'm not happy. You know what I mean? And that's where that indecisiveness really comes into play.
Yeah, completely. I can definitely understand that because the aspect of it's fine to do something that can lead to a comfortable life, but if you're not happy with it, you're not really living your best life. And that's an example of indecisiveness. We're trying to choose between a lifestyle to get somewhere, but not a fulfilling lifestyle, right? But I don't think you're in the wrong to actually pursue business for a lifestyle. I think maybe with that indecisiveness of being a business, maybe it would be worth approaching to see how you can use that business degree to get to the life you want, right? Um, all you like, for example, a lot of my friends in engineering, some of them actually didn't end up going into engineering roles. A couple of them actually started working in banks. One of them is a manager at a bank now, which is like the complete opposite of engineering. But they use the tools and what they learned in their secondary degree program or diploma program to sort of get to the life that they wanted. And I think in that kind of sense, despite indecisiveness not leading you to maybe a degree that can be happy or ultimately maybe something at the end where you're not going to go, but getting to a comfortable life, it doesn't mean that you can't use the tools provided to you by that to get to the end life that you want.
Like again, sounds stupid, but streaming I would like to be eventually someday a full-time thing. And I think business is a really good program to go into for that because you learn about marketing, you learn about networking and how important it is. And that's, you see a lot of those same themes in streaming as well. So I do kind of like hype myself up, I guess would be the way to put it, for business. Like it is going to help you get to where you want to be. You just have to make it through this really grueling part. You know, when I'm staying up till 5 a.m., especially last week, staying up till 5 a.m., getting up at 10 a.m., I'm like, why am I even doing this? Like, it's not what I want to be doing, but I know that at the end it's going to be worth it, which is why I kind of fight through that indecisiveness, which the indecisiveness also makes me very unmotivated to like do my homework as thoroughly as I should be doing it. You know what I mean? So it plays into so many other factors other than just the like big question itself, if that makes sense to me anyways.
Oh, it does completely. But I think the grueling path you just mentioned is really a fundamental thing to kind of focus on though, right?
Yeah.
The path less traveled. Nobody said getting to somewhere was going to be easy. There's always some amount of work to get there. And oftentimes the more work you put in, the more you're going to get out of it. So while it may not, you know right now that you don't want to be a student forever. I think that would be a fair assumption to say based on the staying up till 5 and waking up till 10. So you've managed to solve that indecisiveness. You know there's an end goal where you want to go. Your end goal being full-time streaming, getting your mom a house, getting the van, having whatever other awesome things in life you want to get. I mean, like, I've got my goals that I want to get to. I want to open up a card shop when I'm 40, hopefully, maybe before then. Lottery would always be nice. Let Astros win the lottery 2020. Let me retire early, but not actually, because that would be really greedy. I'd actually give people tons of money. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't live with 60 million. Anyways, not the point of the subject here. It's kind of focusing on getting through that path to the end goal of where you're gonna get. You work for it, you put in the effort, and you get to it. And along the way, you have other decisions to ramp up. So you may not be motivated to kind of get your homework done, but you're making that decision that you have the motivation to get you to your end goal and to ultimately do it. So you're overcoming the challenge. But I like what's another. So like we've kind of focused on a positive aspect of indecisiveness, sort of a negative aspect of indecisiveness. What would be like you say would be a neutral ground of indecisiveness? Because that can be a real gray area.
Yeah. Honestly, just for like lighthearted, I guess, things, food, like it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Other than like if I eat some certain things late at night, it will hurt my stomach, but that usually like cuts that option.
But I think that still kind of plays in a part though, right?
Yeah.
So like even if indecisiveness on food may not seem like an important example, I would still say it kind of does in the aspect of you're making a decision for something that might taste delicious and might actually change around your day. You don't really want to have something that's going to taste bad and be left with a bad feeling in your mouth, right? Or a disgusting feeling. You'd rather have something that's going to keep your mood and amp it up. So just touching on that kind of indecisiveness point that we were getting on, because we'll finish this discussion on food.
Yeah.
So indecisiveness with respect to like a decision on food. Food maybe not seem that important, but wouldn't you actually rather have something delicious versus disgusting? Wouldn't you rather feel good about what you eat?
That's true. And sometimes like depending on what I eat can like really affect my mood, which doesn't sound like that makes sense. But like foods that are kind of like heavier, I guess I would say, makes me really like sluggish and like feeling lazy and I don't want to do anything. And then I get grumpy if I have to do anything. But like lighter foods, I guess would be the way to put it. Like, I don't know. I feel not like crap about myself, I guess I would say, like not bloated and shit. So I'm like ready to go and energized. And, you know, there's that part of the decision-making process too. Like, do I have the time to be lazy if I eat this certain food or whatever?
Yeah, it's kind of stepping back. Do I have the chance to take time for myself, or do I have to go right away into rushing and not having any time? And that's also like time management is a big struggle these days as well. And that plays a big part in indecisiveness. I mean, if I had the time every morning to get a coffee from Tim Hortons on my way to work, I absolutely would, because that coffee kind of makes the day for me. Not to say that it sets up the day, but it's a nice start to a day to have things feeling good, and it's a positive start to the day. But yeah, like but it's also being able to like set aside that time for yourself, right? And that's a big thing. Do you make the decision to set aside time for yourself? right? Or do you just have no chance to do that and ultimately have to give up on that chance and lead forward to just rushing to get everything else done, all the other responsibilities or chores that you have going on? But yeah, so like we've kind of discussed the gray area of indecisiveness and how that kind of impacts with the negative and the positive. I mean, overall, I don't know if we can ever really say like indecisiveness is a bad thing, right? Ultimately, it's just a decision making. And you're going to end up deciding where you go based on what's going on in your life at the time, right? So like let's focus back on that topic of time for oneself. How often do you actually make the decision to take time for yourself?
Recently, it's been like 2 minutes here that I could maybe look at TikTok. 2 TikToks. I can look at 2 TikToks and then I have to go back to work, like work or school or whatever the hell it is. Like, just that's basically it. Wherever I don't, Saturdays I take baths after my stream. I do have that, but I haven't recently because just everything going on. But that's usually a thing that I do. And I also watch Netflix when I'm not supposed to, when I'm supposed to be doing homework. Sometimes I'll just be like, you know what? I'm going to watch some Vampire Diaries.
I love the fact that she openly admits to watching Vampire Diaries. Just, I'm kidding.
Phase late, okay? Everyone else went through it in middle school, but not me.
I never actually watched it, I'll be completely honest. I did, however, read the Twilight books.
Low-key only watching it for Damon, because I'm in love with him.
I feel like there's like three things that you go to watch for. It's either Dean Winchester, Cowboys,
yes.
or Damon. That about sums it up. See, Lilith may be indecisive about a lot of things, but she knows what she likes when it comes to TV shows and other aspects of pop culture.
I do, for the most part.
Like, and this is an example of an indecisiveness she's solved. She's gotten through and found the motivation to find what she likes, which is dark, husky people that tend to not be able to die in any sense, except for the cowboy. But I mean, that's a video game, so.
In a nutshell. And I think that also falls in that like gray area, because I really only brought up food for the gray area. I feel like there's not a lot of gray area sorry, I just kind of like turned it around, but I feel like there's not a lot of gray area when it comes to indecisiveness, because like each decision like impacts you or your day or, you know.
Absolutely.
So I'm not sure.
I'm
indecisive about it. Sorry.
No, it's the whole point of what we're talking right now is indecisiveness. I would absolutely agree. I don't think there is a lot of gray area for indecisiveness because most of the time it has a linked issue that it's going to be going through. So we were just touching on indecisiveness with respect to how gray areas maybe not as around all the time, like positive or negative, but sort of everything does have a defined most of the time. So if we kind of touch on indecisiveness with respect to personal life, right? When, let's say, indecisiveness like we've had with choosing your program, choosing a place to live, and sort of the brief chat about indecisiveness and time for oneself. How do you actually make the decision when it's right to take time for yourself? Because I know there are tons of issues with people when they don't take the time for themselves. They have a big problem not knowing when to at all.
Make my indecisiveness like against itself. That's why I make routines for everything. That way I'm not giving myself a choice. Like, this is what needs to happen and this is what you're going to do. That's what I do to help with it. And also I make to-do lists. And once that is all done, once everything I can do on the to-do list is done, that's when I take time for myself. That's when I go watch Netflix or read. Today I'm going to be painting some Halloween decorations after I unpack for a while. So basically, as long as I feel like I got enough done, that's when I take time for myself. But sometimes it's to a fault because I do tend to push myself very hard. And like, I'll start to feel tired. I'm like, no, you need to get this done. So really just, that's what I do. I basically make routines for myself, and list. And once the list is complete, that's when I'm like, okay, now I can relax and take some time for me.
I think that's a really good approach because you've kind of given yourself a reward at the end. You're saying, yeah, I'm getting all this stuff done, and at the end, I get to have some free time. It's an interesting way, but What if you don't have that list set up? Like, how do you kind of go in to decide, like, hey, I need time for myself today?
My whole life falls apart. Like I'm so dependent on it, and like these last couple of days I haven't had it because like moving and everything. I'm just like, okay, I need to remember to get this, this, and this done, but like I know I'm not going to remember everything. So I don't really know because I depend on my list so heavily that it just kind of is in my life all the time. So I guess I would say once I start to feel like I am not being efficient anymore, once my brain stops working with homework specifically, that's when it's time for me to be like, okay, I need to take a few minutes, step away, go take a walk. I do that a lot when I'm doing homework. I'll get up and go take a walk. And at this new place, I think my walks are going to be even better. So just, I basically kind of I've gotten better at listening to myself and what I need and what my like mental state needs in order to be the best I can be when I am trying to be productive, if that makes sense. That was kind of confusing, but...
No, I get you. Have you ever kind of been in the spot where you're really indecisive? Do I finish what's going on right now, or do I just take a step back and do it later?
Yes, all the time, and especially with homework, because I want to get it all done now so that I can like relax and be done by the time like my streaming time of the week comes around, and I don't have to worry about it afterwards. Get down! Sorry.
Keep puppy in the background.
Yeah, she's stepping on boxes. Yeah, so with homework specifically, it's harder for me to step away because I know I have a deadline coming up that I need to get done. So I try my hardest to get it all done while my brain is still functioning, but it is a struggle sometimes to find that balance between like when I should take a break and getting stuff done, I guess. I don't really know if that answered the question, but...
No, I think it does. You're kind of ensuring, at least along the way, that you're getting productive to a certain degree. But there are times when you may push yourself too much, or just go all the way to get it done, or dial it back a bit. I'm a tad the opposite. I do love stuff to get done, but I absolutely have the habit of pushing stuff off until the very end. That is the procrastinative nature of me. Like this morning, I was supposed to do my laundry. However, I did sleep in, and then I did play Pokemon Go, and now here I am on stream with about 3 loads of laundry I haven't started. That probably should have been done on Friday. But hey, here I am.
Totally get that too, and honestly I used to be that way so bad to the point where like I stopped going to my college classes and stuff, and then I failed a couple classes and was like, this is not me, I am not this person. I was also coping with the loss of my best friend, so that was not helping. But yeah, I basically was like, oh, it's too cold outside, I'm not going to class, or like I don't want to do my homework because I don't want to, and so I would just lay in bed. And that like, or if I felt, and I still struggle with this, if I feel confused by something, or if I am feeling indecisive about something, I won't even acknowledge it's there. I'll just pretend it's a figment of my imagination, and I'm like, I don't have to deal with that. But then deadlines come up, people start asking like, hey, bro, like, we were supposed to do this, you know, things like that. So I have gotten a lot better about that, and I think it's due to like my lists and my routine and stuff like that. But yeah, I basically failed a couple college classes because of not making the decision to be what I wanted and what I knew that I was, if that makes sense.
It does, and honestly, it does suck to fail a college class because obviously that's money and time you've put in. But I wouldn't view it as so much of a negative though, right? Because that is time and money you put in for an experience to figure out like, hey, this really was not for me. And you did get over that indecisiveness to ultimately be like, I just don't have the motivation to go through with this because this doesn't interest me at all. And you cannot force that. Like, you can't force motivation on yourself. Motivation has to come from energy. It's okay to fail as long as you learn something from it, right? Like that's the biggest takeaway. There is no true failing in life. You only fail if you don't learn or don't put the effort into something new. And that's at the point when you've given up. As long as you take away something, it's always worth doing. Despite the fact that it may have costed some money. But live and learn, right?
Good point.
I have
yes.
I've been through and spent money on things that I probably shouldn't have spent money on, but here I am. I'm still alive, and I've learned from the better. There are cheap things that I've bought that I bought a pair of headphones for $15. Do I regret buying them? Yes. Did I learn? Yes. Don't buy $15 headphones. They don't work. Instead, get yourself something nice when you can absolutely afford it, or something in your budgetary means. Right, but that's learning away from a lesson of indecisiveness. Sometimes your indecisiveness forces you into a corner where you can make the wrong decision, and then you learn later on that it was the wrong choice. And that's not bad, because you're taking that energy from that decision and recognizing, hey, I need to fix this on the next go around when it comes up.
Lessons you can learn from being, I'm not saying like being indecisive is necessarily a good or bad thing, but there's a lesson in everything, you know? And indecisive is just another one of those things that you can either let it drag you down, or you can let it motivate you and be better next time, you know?
Yeah, it's like anything. Energy, as I've said before, can neither be created nor destroyed. Energy can only be transferred. If you're not taking that energy from your indecisiveness and transferring it into something better and positive for yourself, what are you really doing with your life? Right? Like,
I think you're letting it like control you almost. Like, it's just this factor that's just, it's deciding like whether you do something or not. And, you know, you look back and you're like, oh, crap. Like, I could have done better there or made a different decision. But, you know, that's why you live and you learn, and you try your hardest to take away what you can.
So. Absolutely. And like you just said there, it's live and learn. And I think that's like one aspect of like your streams I always love. It's that ending line, live and learn. And that really comes into indecisiveness a lot, because you won't live unless you learn, and you won't learn unless you live. For as basic as that sounds. But if you're not getting out there to try new stuff, to make decisions when it comes up, you're never going to have the experiences to kind of draw in, to take away new things that may change your decision on the next go. I mean, I'll use Magic the Gathering cards for an example here. So buying a pack of Magic the Gathering cards, sometimes they're cheap, sometimes they're not. Making the decision of if I want to buy a pack or not. When I get a really rare card in the pack, it makes me feel real great that I decided to buy it. When I don't get one, not so much. But that kind of ties into a calculated risk loss, which actually also kind of ties in with indecisiveness, right? If you're able to make a wrong decision and accept that that wrong decision exists and doesn't impact you that badly, I think that kind of helps in indecisiveness as well. If you can recognize and analyze what the potential downfalls of making a wrong decision are, it gives you more knowledge and power in making that decision forward to go with what has you indecisive in the first place, right? Knowledge, as they say, is power.
Yeah, I agree, and it truly is. And what I was thinking, like, while you were saying all that, is if you're not taking lessons from the previous indecisiveness, there's just going to be more indecisiveness down the road, because you don't have that knowledge that you learned from, you know, the decision that you were supposed to make along the way. And you know what I mean? Like, if you're not learning from being indecisive and decisions you've had to make in the past, it's useless. Like, basically you just went through it in vain, essentially. So I think it's really important, like I said, to take lessons from that indecisiveness. And when you know you're being indecisive, and using that for future situations that may or may not be more intense and more complex.
Here's a funny question. Have you ever been indecisive about being indecisive?
Oh, yeah. 100%. 100%. Like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm not that indecisive. And then I think about it. I truly think about it. I'm like, yeah, I might be, but I don't know. Like, because there's certain things I'm indecisive about, but then there's other things where I'm very firm on, like, where I stand, and I am not indecisive about it at all. So there's kind of that, like, balance. So,
like your love of Dean Winchester?
Oh, God, I love that man so much.
But that ties back into experiencing, living, and learning. You wouldn't have figured out that love if you hadn't made the decision and to experience or try it. You know, getting over the indecisiveness of maybe what to watch that one day when you stumbled into the world of Supernatural, and then finding out This is the man of
Right.
my dreams. Dean Winchester, take me away so that I may never die too. Or something to that effect.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, my friend actually showed it to me, and I was indecisive about watching Supernatural at first because I had seen a few episodes or a few clips of episodes. I was like, it looks all right. And she was like, no, you need to watch it. I was like, I guess, like, maybe. Like, I wasn't sure. And then I watched it, and I think I binged like the first 3 seasons in a weekend or something like that. It was insane. And I all of a sudden, people were like, "What's your favorite car?" I'm like, "A 1967 black Chevy Impala 4-door." Like, it was so specific. And I still take pictures of those Impalas when I see them around here. I'll still stop and take a picture. I don't care if someone's in it or not. I'm just like, I just need a pic of this.
I can't say that I'm surprised, because I'm really not. But I think what you just said brings up another, like, sort of a final touch on indecisiveness, is external factors on indecisiveness. Like, when we're faced with a situation, we just don't know what to do, but a force kind of comes in and, for lack of better words, pushes us into the water to try it. I don't know, have you ever been in that decision? Or in that,
I mean, yeah, with streaming, honestly, like, I was like, it looks like fun, but I'm not like super comfortable in front of people. B, I tend to be hostile sometimes, so I'm not sure I have the great personality for it. And I just was like giving myself all these excuses of why like I couldn't do streaming. But then, like, not to sound cliche, but my heart was like, but what if it made you happy? Like, what if you enjoyed doing it? What if you nailed down another thing that you actually enjoy doing? Since I'm still trying to like find myself or whatnot. And then you waltzed in and was like, push, like, you're streaming, have a good time. And I'm glad that you did, because like, even and pushed me into joining the F2K community too, because like, I've made so many friends in the past few months that like mean more to me than some people that I've known for years. Or like, you know, I talk to the people in the community more than people I've talked to for years. And it's truly been like, I'm not religious, but it's been a blessing. And I'm glad I got over that indecisiveness. And I'm glad that I had you as an external factor pushing me into the water and being like, no, dude, just go for it. Because it's seriously changed my life in these few short months.
I completely sympathize with that. I was in a very similar boat with streaming. I had a friend just be like, you know what? Just try it. And I mean, 3 years, I forget how long it's been, but you know, X amount of time, here I am. And like, I will say I've had my indecisiveness about streaming multiple times, especially with what to stream. I started off streaming Hearthstone. I was in the top 200 Wild Legend for X amount of months. Top 200 players in North America. You know, I could say that I was good. I did things, but I wasn't having as much fun with the game anymore. You know, changes and things happen, and it just doesn't become interesting. I felt like I wasn't as engaging or as entertaining for the people that like to come by, or as happy and motivated or positive as people say that I am, which I sort of agree with sometimes, and sometimes I don't. But I listen to what people say, because that's how I got to where I am. Because you accept in when an external factor happens. Typically, it's a sign, and it's something you should at least consider. But you know, like so many months ago, I got fed up with Hearthstone. I stopped, and I switched completely from one game into variety streaming for like 2 weeks, and then I was like, you know what? Let's try streaming Magic. And you know, here I am, part of the content creators program for MTG. I'm running a podcast with 3 of my best friends, and now on Sundays I'm hosting Motivational Sunday picks to help other people feel better and positive. Which came as a suggestion from a good friend of mine. He's like, you're so positive, why don't you try doing motivational streams? I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should. And, well, here we are.
I'm glad you did. I freaking love your motivational streams. Like, I don't play Magic as much, which I'm going to work on. Don't worry.
Good.
I opened MTG Arena today, actually, because I had, like, a little code thing I hadn't put in, and I was like, I should really play this. Not the point, though. But I really like your motivational stream, so I'm glad that you made that decision. And that's another thing where, like, indecisiveness kind of plays into so many factors in your life. Like, you making the decision to stream Motivational Sundays has helped me be motivated to, like, do things and really, truly think about myself and that's kind of helped like alleviate some of the indecisiveness, because then I'm like, yes, this is what I want, and I just need to be more firm with it and stand my ground. And I'm just bragging because I really like your motivational Sunday videos.
Well, I appreciate it. No, but I completely agree with that, right? It's having something to help you with a commitment to get forward. And to get over an indecisiveness, it takes a commitment and the motivation to follow with that commitment and recognizing the factors that can do it, which, as we've identified, can be external, they can be internal, they could even be the puppy that's behind you acting so cute. Don't worry, your puppy's not actually behind you.
But... I know, she's laying at my feet. I'm petting her.
But see, there's a great decision right there, deciding to pet the puppy because it's right there and cute. But with indecisiveness, right? Like it's a weird beneficial thing in life. And I'd like to say at the end, indecisiveness, while it seems negative, is an important part of your life that you have to have. It is impactful and it is positive. And if you don't see the indecisiveness going on in your life, then you need to look at a new perspective to turn it into positive. The only way you can make a change in your life for the better is to recognize a different way to turn a situation around.
And like you said, it does play such an important... If we did not have indecisiveness as humans, we would just jump straight into things without a care in the world, which, yes, sounds great for people who struggle with it like me, but like, on the other hand, then you're not taking the time to slow down and really evaluate like what's going to make you happy and what you need, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to have to live with that decision.
Well, completely. And I think with it too, you're not learning anything.
Exactly.
Each indecisiveness is a lesson. And if you're not learning a lesson, you're not living life. You're just jumping from boat to boat in a shallow shell that really isn't much. You're living off an adrenaline aspect, which is a great high, but every high has to end. Everyone's got to come down at some point in life. Well, friends, I think we've kind of hit the end of Motivational Sunday here. So, Lilith, I want to thank you for coming on today. I'm definitely going to have to bring you back. All right, Lilith. Well, why don't you give yourself a shout out? Say where the fine people at home can find you.
Okay. It's Lunar Lilith with, LUNARLILITH _28. And then on YouTube, it's the same thing, except there's no underscore. And then Instagram is Lunar Cosplays 28. If you want to check out some of the cosplays, I'll be cosplaying again next Sunday. So
very awesome. Looking forward to that. And if I recall, you and I are supposed to do a duo stream at some point in the next month when we figure out a time for this, right?
Yes, I think so.
It's in the progress. See, this is how I get Lilith to agree to do stuff. I just throw her under the bus for it.
He does. He's like, we're doing this. Okay, thanks, bye. That's literally the message I got for this stream. I was like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so about last week, I slid into the Discord and I was like, hey, Lilith, you're coming on for Motivational Sunday. KK, thanks, bye.
Yep.
And she's like, wait, what? That's just kind of how I roll, guys. If you don't ever want to do something, I won't ever force you, but I will try to get you to spread your boundaries. And as my friend Bruiser is saying in chat, you get sucked into the friendship with Astrals. I get volunteered for a lot of things. He's not wrong. I convinced Boo Boo to try cosplaying one time. And he had never done it before in his life. And now he regularly comes up to Canada and loves Tim Hortons. Because that's the kind of bro he is. That's
amazing.
Yeah,
maybe you should convince Josh to cosplay with me.
I'll work on it. Get Josh in with a room for me for an hour, and we'll come out, and he'll be all set for con. It'll be fine.
He'll be in cosplay already.
See, there we go. Exactly. I will say I do need to actually, when the border finally opens up, I need to organize some trips down to the States again, because I got to go meet up with Boo Boo down in Ohio. There, it's been too long for him, and I need to go pay you guys a visit.
I'd be glad.
I'd be looking forward to it. Well, Lilith, thank you again for coming on for this. I know we had a little bit of internet trouble. It's fine. I know the edit points and where to put it up. We're definitely going to get you back in for another Motivational Sunday here in a few weeks, I think.
Awesome.